Joining me now, great friend, Senator Bill Hagerty from the great state of Tennessee, former ambassador to Japan during the Trump administration. First of all, Senator, welcome on set.
It's great to be back with you, Larry.
Have you been on set before?
Not live. Not live.
Not live. That's great. You got a quick thing. I mean, Biden's numbers are sinking. His economic numbers are sinking. His poll numbers are sinking. Indeed. And the way I look at it, this is my view. Feel free to disagree. He basically wants to throw Trump into jail so Trump can never run for president against him. Legality aside, that's still my view.
It seems that he's totally weaponized the Justice Department, the FBI, and every other aspect of government to keep himself in perpetual power. The Democrats have all fallen in line with this. It's really a disgrace.
So the economy, these economic numbers are terrible. He took a good economy from Trump, literally, on a silver platter, and ran it into the ground. Low growth, high inflation. Stagnation is what Art Laffer and Steve Forbes calls it. And it's really stagnation with inflation, stagflation.
And it began on day one. If you think about the war that he waged on the domestic energy industry here, it started out on the very first day of his presidency. He's driven energy prices through the roof. Everything I know, Larry, has to be transported, moved. Energy is a major input factor for most things that are manufactured. It's inherently inflationary, and he did it damn the torpedoes. Then you had on top of that the stimulus that they put into the economy at a time that we didn't need it. They just put fuel on the fire, and they stand back and try to claim that this is some sort of victory. The poor Pinocchio results that you just cited, it's crazy.
Bottomless. The Washington Post called it bottomless Pinocchio. I love that.
That's right.
By the way, we're going to report later in the show. I hate to do it, but I got to get it out here. So he's going out to California, Silicon Valley. He's going to brag about putting $600 million into some renewables thing, and all the Silicon Valley startups and stuff that went under with Silicon Valley Bank. They're going to get $600 million, but it won't be a net because they'll give Biden $100 million back for his reelection. So it's really only net $500 million. I mean, it's a total grift. That's the way I look at these things.
Well, a grift is something that we've talked about before, and that seems to be synonymous with the Biden family if you look at some of their economic exploits.
All right. Bill Hagerty, you are an expert on foreign policy, ambassador to Japan. This meeting with Antony Blinken in China with various diplomats, plus he met with Xi. First of all, let's listen to some sound about Taiwan, I think.
We do not support Taiwan independence. We remain opposed to any unilateral changes to the status quo by either side. We continue to expect the peaceful resolution of cross-strait differences.
So, Senator Hagerty, I understand the one China thing goes on and on and on and on. But for him to say he doesn't support Taiwan independence that way strikes me as a big blunder. I don't know what you think. You were the diplomat. You were a very good ambassador to Japan. You know, you were on our China trade team. What do you think of Blinken?
So I saw him do this, and these are dated State Department talking points, but I think that they marched them out probably in exchange for Blinken to get the meeting with Xi. And that meeting with Xi was an embarrassment as well. If you saw the way that they were situated, when Xi met with Rex Tillerson, when she met with Mike Pompeo, when she met with Hillary Clinton, they all sat side by side in a position of equals. Even Lavrov, Russia's foreign minister, sits side by side with Xi. But when our Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, meets with him, Xi's in the middle of the table and Blinken's on the side.
Oh,
it's disrespect all the way around.
Huh.
You know how the subtleties matter.
No, I do. That's a good point. I didn't even know that. But why couldn't he be more aggressive in defending Taiwan? It seems to me that's the name of the game. Now, I know Xi will hate that. I understand that. But we're not here to pleasure Xi. They're not friendly competitors like France or Germany or something. They are our adversaries, life and death adversaries.
You know, Secretary Blinken has continued to do this. Our State Department has continued to do this in terms of trying to appease the Chinese Communist Party. You know, one of the conditions, at least it was reported, that one of the conditions of this meeting between Blinken and these high-level Chinese Communist Party officials was that the FBI report on the China spy balloon not be released.
Oh.
Well, the report has never been released, and Secretary Blinken's had his meeting. I think, you know, we come into this from a position of weakness like this, kowtowing to the Chinese and their demands. That's not the position we need to be, and you and I both know that. Speaking from a position of strength, that's exactly where America needs to be. That's where our Secretary of State should be.
So we've got a quick sound here on Mr. Biden regarding the Chinese balloon you mentioned. Please take a listen.
I think one of the things that balloon caused was not so much that it got shot down, but I don't think the leadership knew where it was and knew what was in it and knew what was going on. I think it was more embarrassing than it was intentional.
The leadership didn't know. This was, I guess, some existential balloon. It just happened in the sky. I know it had Chinese letters on it. They were gathering Chinese in. They didn't know, Senator Hagerty? They didn't know.
Neither of us buy this, Larry. The only people that didn't know seem to be the occupant of the White House right now. And to say this is an embarrassment for China, no, this is an embarrassment for the United States and for this administration to allow this to happen. It takes someone in Montana to spot it with his naked eye before they're going to disclose this to the American public. They allow this balloon to loiter over the United States for days, flying over our military assets, loitering over Oak Ridge National Lab in my home state of Tennessee. This was an absolute embarrassment.
That's right. It floated right through that. Isn't that something? But they didn't know. These are all coincidences.
I think
it's a weather balloon, off course, right?
It's just unbelievable that President Biden would parrot this Chinese Communist Party talking point when we know that's disinformation, and to actually extend that when he should be calling it for what it is. This is an act of aggression. It's a violation of U.S. sovereignty, and the Chinese Communist Party decided it was okay to do that. It was appropriate.
And, you know, presidents should say that with a lot of intensity and strength, just what you said. I mean, Trump would do that. Maybe some of the other candidates would, too. I'm not here to judge them all. I'm just saying we watched Trump be tough with Xi and others, for that matter. You know, you put a little oomph into it so they get the message. Anyway, the other thing I want to ask you, Senator Hagerty, is all these rumors, there's a Wall Street Journal editorial about it today, that there's another deal brewing. Here they go again with Iran.
Yeah.
Iran, the sponsor of state terrorism, Iran, the haters of Israel, the haters of the United States, and they're developing nuclear weapons. We all know about that. There's 60% plutonium already. So we have that. Now, they're going to go through Iraq and other countries, I think Turkmenistan and others, allegedly to pay bills, to pay Iraq's bills to Iran, a little less than $3 billion so far. $3 billion is a lot of money. Money is fungible. Iran will take that money and do God knows what with it. You were in the financial business. I'm just saying, how can they do this? They're going back to the same nonsense. We thought they killed it last fall. Here they go again.
You know, I think the Ayatollahs have been very clever in terms of how to play this administration, and they're playing him like suckers. What they waited was for Joe Biden to announce his 2024 candidacy. Lo and behold, one of the promises that he made was that he was going to re-enter this deal. And the Ayatollahs have held off. We've tried everything, I should say we, but Biden's negotiating team, through our partners, Russia and China, who are handling the negotiations on our behalf. I mean, what could go wrong with Russia negotiating on our behalf for this deal? But the Biden administration has bent over backwards to try to seal this campaign promise, even what they're calling a mini deal. But this will be a terrible deal for America. It's going to preserve Iran's current capacity in terms of being at a breakout point with a nuclear weapon. At the same time, it's going to free up billions more dollars. As you mentioned, close to $3 billion have already been released through Iraq. They're talking about $7 billion coming from South Korea.
This is the Biden administration. Right. I forgot. Yeah, of course. That was the original.
This is the Biden administration. Again, willingness to enrich the world's largest state sponsor of terror, someone who's said death to Israel, death to America, who've waged war on our troops in Syria and other places. They're willing to do this. So the next time that the Israelis feel a rocket coming in from Hezbollah or Hamas, they can say that America paid for that now.
Oh, boy.
You can thank Joe Biden for this.
I know. Iran giving drones to Russia in the Ukraine war, that kind of thing.
The Ukrainians can thank America for supplying
Can I
the
ask you
funding
just
for this
one last question quickly? Why don't instead of working with Iran, why don't they work to expand the Abraham Accords? Like, we were on the verge of, the Trump administration was on the verge of bringing Saudi Arabia into the Abraham Accords, I believe, if there had been a second term. But a lot of the Gulf states joined it. This is Israel and the Gulf states making peace, trade deals, investment deals. That's how you do it. They're our allies. Iran's our enemy. And by the way, Iran is their enemy. They're the Gulf states' enemy.
Absolutely.
Why aren't the Bidens doing that?
You know, it was a capstone accomplishment of President Trump. I mean, it was an accomplishment worthy of a Nobel Peace Prize. And instead, the Biden administration is trying to destroy all of President Trump's legacy. I think this has to do with domestic politics. It doesn't have to do with our national security because, just as you articulated, Larry, that's where we should be, expanding the Abraham Accords. But the Biden administration has no interest in doing it.
Biden won't meet with Netanyahu.
It's amazing.
He won't meet with Netanyahu. Kevin McCarthy will put Netanyahu before the House of Representatives. Biden won't meet with him.
Our strongest ally in the Middle East, and the Biden administration is refusing that relationship.
All right. Senator Bill Hagerty.
Wonderful to be with you.
Very much. Thank you for your time.